My name is Marty Lewis. I'm in Carmel, California, and I'm the Bridge Think Tank. I want to start out today and say I'm just very honored to be invited by the Sudanese Study Center in conjunction with Al Nilyan University in their documentary they are doing for Sudan. It is a great honor and privilege to even be considered to be part of this documentary. I have been working with the Sudanese community here in Monterey for over 12 years. I was invited in after meeting Mustafa and Nagat Ijele during a peace conference, after which I was asked to do a think tank for Sudan when Sudan was splitting apart. At that time, I was working with 12 Sudanese professors on doing the think tank. Your first question is, what are the major features of the work of Mahmoud Taha? And I believe that his work was to bring his students and disciples into unity consciousness, and that he was all about unity consciousness and that we were all one, and the equality between men and women and spirituality, different religions. How important was his work for humanity? And I believe humanity at this time and juncture on the planet, we all need to come to unity consciousness and all realize that we are part of one, and that we need to evolve from that into universal consciousness, because the planet is shifting into another realm, and if we're not awake, if we do not go into enlightenment or awareness or whatever you call it, you're not going to become part of the next realm that we're entering. The work of Mahmoud Taha has become so important to me because for years I questioned God and myself. Was this my mission? Was this what I was supposed to do? And after years and years of asking God and years of looking at Mahmoud Taha's photo and asking him, was this what I was supposed to do for my mission? The answer was yes. And so I feel very, very blessed, because most people don't know what their mission is. And my mission is really just to be in awareness of the Sudanese, because I believe that there is such a purity about them that they will lead the whole world into the future, and that they are the greatest peacemakers on the planet. So I feel very, very blessed. Most people I know don't even know what their mission is. And so I'm seeing great things coming into the future. Your tools are sharpened, and that you learn compassion. And through their compassion, we will be free. They will lead us into freedom. I haven't been published, but I have been videotaped for probably 7 or 8 sessions that have gone on with Nagat and Mustafa Ijele's website. I have attended many, many ceremonies over the 12 years with the Sudanese, conferences, weddings, deaths, births, and I feel very much a part of the community. I've had many moments with the Sudanese that have been so powerful in my life, but one of the most powerful was I was so honored that Mahmoud Taha's daughter, Asma, came to visit me. And I couldn't really believe it. I remember saying, oh my goodness, I feel so honored. I guess I'm not going to church. I guess this is church. And she was there in about an hour. When she came to my studio, I'd always known that Mahmoud Taha was an enlightened being. But it wasn't until she was here that I realized that he was not only just enlightened, but he was an ascended master. He was like Jesus and Buddha and Krishna and Muhammad. He was an ascended master. And that really clicked in, didn't really click into me until his daughter was here. And so that was very, very profound. I guess I'd like to say how I came to wanting to become the Bridge Think Tank, and that was in '95. I helped bring on a Caribbean Women's Conference. I was living in St. Croix at the time, and I helped assist in bringing 17 islands together for the first time in the history of the world. We brought Haiti, Trinidad, Suriname, St. Martin, Tortola, St. Lucia. All 17 down islands came to St. Croix for this conference. And while we were brainstorming the conference, I began to realize that somebody would say something and somebody on the other side of the table would finish the sentence. And I started to understand how consciousness worked. So doing my think tanks had always been my dream. And I did one on Middle East peace. I did one on Afghanistan. I did one on green architecture. And then I did one on Conversations of Peace for Sudan. So it's been a great privilege for me to do these think tanks. But I think actually what we're really doing here is we're all bridging heaven and earth right now. Each one of us is going to do our own little tap dance. Everyone is going to anchor this thing. Some people might want to go to Afghanistan. Other people might want to go to Syria. And my calling is that I want to anchor this in Sudan because we're all trying to anchor the light. Foremost, I'd like to thank Mustafa and Nagat Ejali for inviting me into the Sudanese community here in Monterey, which I've been so welcomed in to, and I feel so comfortable and part of this community for 12 years. I feel like I am Sudanese. They tell me I am. I'd also like to thank Huda and Alraya Kahali, and they have been great supporters of mine too in Monterey, along with the rest of the community. So without them, I never would be here today. And without the Sudanese community, I feel that they are the greatest hope for the world. So again, I want to say how blessed I am, and thank you so much. I want to try to explain a little bit about why or how I'm able to communicate with the Sudanese, because I don't speak a word of Arabic. I have two sons that are deaf. They're both in their 40s. They didn't lose their hearing until after 5. So they were quite smart, and they read lips, and we didn't learn sign language because we had a fire in our house, and so that interrupted the classes. But because my sons are deaf, we've always been able to communicate a lot without language. And that is pretty much, I think, given me the skill that I'm able to work with the Sudanese because I don't know Arabic. I mentioned once before that I feel like I'm a bit of an empath. And by that, I don't want it to be taken that I feel like I'm psychic or anything, but it's like my son once went to a protest and he held up a sign. I said, "What'd you say on your sign?" And he said, "I said, empathy, not apathy." And I said, "That's wonderful, because to me, empathy is the opposite of apathy. Apathy is you don't care. Empathy is you do care. And you do care and you feel it. So I think that's given me one of the skills. Plus, I think my background in the Caribbean with the elder women in the Caribbean, that really prepared me for the Sudanese culture. And all the pieces seem to come together for me. It's like I pick up the piece and I go, well, that's part of my puzzle. And so it all fits perfectly. I feel very much in synchronicity now. It's like I'm in 0 degrees of separation. And if I weren't in so much synchronicity, I don't feel like I was on track. Mahmoud said, I believe, that first, you have to think from your head and then your heart, and then you have to be in synchronicity. And I think that in awareness, you have to realize it's what you say, you create. And now it's even what you think you create. So you really have to be careful of your thoughts. You have to be careful of your words. And just try to be the witness and be awareness of what's happening around you, because you are the creator of your world. I turned 70 last year, and then at 71, you know, for 70 years, not pretty enough, rich enough, good enough, whatever enough, you know. At 71, I'm like connected to everything. So I'm playing on another field. Yes, so right. I thought I'm in heaven now. I crossed the creek. Let me just tell you, I crossed the creek. So anyway, what my deal is, I thought St. Croix was hell, but all of a sudden now that I'm sort of in heaven, I go, it was about what I did. Yes. I brought 17 islands together for the first time in the history of the world. So since I changed my perspective of my past, my present changed. Then I meet all these scientists at Middlebury Institute, and they're designing wind turbines that create enough electricity for 50,000 people. They asked me if I want to do a water conference, and I go, yeah. And then I hang up the phone. As soon as I hang up the phone rings 1 minute later, but 21 years later, the head of the Department of Energy for the Caribbean. We want those wind turbines. We're building a wellness center down Nevis. Wow, so it's like I changed my perspective, which changed my present, which is changing my future. Yes. So I think that Sudan will lead the world into the next realm. And it's because they are such a high frequency. And what I'm saying by that is they're very uncorrupted. And there's a sense of purity to them, and they have suffered so much, and because of the suffering, I feel that it will sharpen them to compassion. For many years, as I was following them, I went to many different religions. I went to the head of the Tibetan monks, and I said, "Please tell me about Sudan." And the monk said, "Oh, Sudan is carrying the souls of millions on their back. And that through the suffering, it will sharpen them to have compassion." And I believe that when you transcend your suffering and you go into compassion, then you go into another realm, and that this is where we come into overcoming our fears and going into freedom. We're transcending here. So I believe that this community is very important. The Sudanese community in Sudan, the whole world will be watching when they do this. And I did not get that from the other Arabic countries that I had worked with. So there's a lot of clarity in this for me. So that's why I have hung in there. And I believe that my job is not to manipulate anything, that I'm just there to be the witness. I'm just there to be in awareness of them. And I can't manipulate anything because I don't speak Arabic, for one thing. And it has been an honor and a privilege to be invited into their community.